Good afternoon, everybody. Barry here from Bicton Travel. Very warm welcome to our regular Tuesday afternoon presentations. Hoping to inspire you with travel in the future when we are once again permitted. Now, today's presentation is brought to you by the lovely Belle, who is joining us all the way from sunny Queensland. And for the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so, she's going to be inspiring you with everything Azamara, which is, of course, small ship club-style cruising with the best overnights and late night stays in some of the most beautiful parts of the world. But I'm not going to spoil it for you. Belle's going to share what's happening from 21, 22, and possibly a little bit further beyond. So, Belle, all over to you.
Thanks so much, Barry. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone, this afternoon. I have got one of these lovely Zoom backgrounds. So I do have one of the ships, the Journey, in the background in a beautiful European port. So hopefully helping you dream for when we can get over there again. I thought I'd give you a quick update across on Azamara itself and some of the inclusions for those that haven't sailed us before. But we are the brand that talks small ship and all about destinations. So for Azamara, it's really important that we try and give you as much time in the ports of call and as many ports in every country that we go to. So we cruise what we like to call slower than most people around the world and take in as many ports throughout the days and the itineraries as we can. With Azamara, it has always been about the longer stays, more overnights and night touring. Our deployment so far has not changed too much. There is still a lot of overnights on our itineraries right around the world and even closer to home, where we've got some great sailings at the end of 21. At the moment, we are still boarding and docking overnights in Tasmania, in New Zealand. When we go over to Europe, we even do double overnights when we're docked downtown. So we'll take a look at a few of those towards the end of the presentation. Azamara itself really is about the immersive itinerary. So we're going to look at today a few of the things that happen on board the ships that help you or help us to bring that destination on board for you. One thing that stands out with Azamara is what we call these country intensive voyages. So when we go to one particular country, say we go to Africa or Japan, it is about taking you to some of the smaller ports. Being under 700 guests on board, we can actually get into places that you can't on the large, huge mega ships. And this really gives you a great experience in those countries on a boutique size ship. The travelers on Azamara, I like to always make people aware, really are kind of our empty nesters, but people that are still looking for an adventure. You're able to come in around breakfast time, stay right through to the overnight or a couple of days in different ports like St. Petersburg, Bordeaux, where you do the double overnights there and can head out to the wineries and do a stay local. So really, it's kind of, I find a lot of our guests are adventurous. They want to do a lot of excursions and a lot of exploring while you're on board the ships. This is just a few of the spaces around the ship, so you can see kind of the style and the design. On the Quest and the Pursuit, we have 3 ships, the Journey also. We have this new space called the Den. This actually replaced our casinos on board, has become a travel library, the shore excursions hub through the day, and through the evening, a beautiful piano bar. So great trivia's in there, fantastic entertainment through the evenings. Being that you've got the dining room on one side, the showroom, the cabaret lounge on the other, this is a great point to stop through the evening before or after dinner. The ships themselves were all redesigned in 2016 to contemporary luxury. The suites on board are stunning, different living to wardrobe areas. These are our club spa suites and jacuzzis off the edge. So you can imagine pulling into somewhere like Monte Carlo, watching the sail in from your own jacuzzi. Club Ocean Suites and World Owner Suites all have separate living, dining, bathrooms. So it's a 3-bedroom with a lovely, 3-room suite with a lovely huge balcony off the side as well. And then you come to our Club Continents, which are the lead-in suites. So these have about double the width of the room to a veranda, quite a large balcony as well. Really nice living space. So this tends to be our most popular room. You get all the inclusions of a suite in the Club Continent lead-in. So all of those great inclusions for a suite. Around the ship, you've got some beautiful spaces, and always remember with Azamara, it is all-inclusive sailing. So you've got all your drinks, food, gratuities, everything that you see is inside that package price you get from Bicton. So there's nothing further to outlay when you're on the ship. Amazing coffee stations. There are 3 different coffee stations on the ship where you've got baristas that can make your coffee every day, can bring it to the room for you as well. So not just coffee machines, actual baristas as well. Destination immersion experience. When it comes to Azamara, there are 3 things that we look at. So it is the itineraries, which we've won lots of awards for the way that our deployment team really look at where the ship's going to be and what you're going to be able to see whilst you're cruising with us. Beyond the Sea really refers to our shore excursion program. So especially coming out of the pandemic that we've been in, we're really working hard to make sure that we connect with travel partners that are able to take you on the best tours, the safest as well. So there's going to be a lot of regulations around that too, but lots of different styles of tour. And I'll run through a few of the ways that you can do your land experience with Azamara as well. Plus, being a boutique hotel at sea, really anything that you're after on the ship is looked after by our amazing crew. Really, the crew is what brings our brand to life. They are so familiar with some of our guests that come time and time again, get on board, they know what your coffee order or your drink order is from day one. They know how you like the room made up if you've got your in-room bar in one of the suites or the Veranda Plus rooms. So yeah, it just really makes it kind of a personal experience when you're on board. In talking about the amenities, all of the guests do receive, and it's including spirits, beers, wines, bottles of water, specialty coffees, any of your gratuities on board, no worrying about what to pay at the end, that's all included, and concierge services for our suites as well. Over to the suite guests, you get the 2 amazing restaurants. So if you are booked in one of the suites, you've got Aquilina and Prime C. Fantastic butler service. You've got priority embarkation and debarkation, and the in-room services. So the afternoon teas are a high tea in the afternoon and a complimentary in-room spirits as well. Veranda Plus is something we're going to take a little look at, because even for those guests that have cruised before with us on Azamara, this is something new. So it came about for the 2020 itineraries, or from the launch of 2020, and you get 5 of the inclusions from the suite guests. So this really fell about that Azamara, a lot of our suites will book up, especially on some of these great itineraries we're going to look at today. And for these particular rooms, if you can't get into a suite, at least on deck 8, you can have one of the verandas, still get your complimentary dining once a week, have the in-room bar, which people really like when they've come back from a long day in port, to be able to come back and make a cocktail while you're getting ready for dinner in the room, and having a laundry service. So when you're doing a longer cruise, once a week, the team will do your laundry for you. The Veranda Plus rooms are in this location, right up on deck number 8, so the best locations on the ship. Really nice layout. It is the same as a veranda stateroom, a little bit of a larger balcony, 2.3 square meters. On deck 7, we've got a couple of the deluxe rooms at the back and front of deck 7, and these will also be included in the Veranda Plus category. On the ship, there is always so many ways to connect and to make sure that you have all of this available to you about your shore excursions, how you're going to plan your trip. You can actually use an app beforehand. So once you've booked in your amazing trip, whether it's Japan intensive, whether you're going to Africa, whether you want to do Carnivale in 22 in Rio, you can book in with us and you can look at those shore excursions already. We're starting to hold spaces for you on some of the main events. And of course, you get lots of great details on the ship. But really moving forward with cruising, digital is where it's going to be, whether it's an iPad you travel with or whether it's a smartphone, that you'll be able to lock in kind of your calendar before you get there. You'll be able to do your muster drill through the app as well. You'll also be able to check into your dining, any of the spa treatments. It'll all happen there online for you, so you won't be able to having to carry around so much the old school planners. We'll still have them in the room for you, but you'll be able to take this with you, so it'll make cruising a lot easier. It will be available on all 3 ships when we come back to service next year. A couple of the fun things around the ship, I wanted to show you some of the events that we have that will still continue on board. Evening under the stars. We like to kind of catchphrase this, our white party. It's a great evening from about 6 till 9 p.m. There's a round robin of entertainment. The ship is decked out. This is the pool deck, but you can see just there in the background where all the tables are laid out with white linen. They do a huge service of dinner out there for everybody on the pool side at night. This is such a great experience for us. We usually do it when we're staying late in one of the ports. So the backdrop to a couple of these that I've seen were in Cherbourg in France on this particular evening where I took this photo. But we were actually up in Monte Carlo where I did this once, and you've got all those super yachts and everything parked next to you whilst you're having this great party and a champagne on board. It's definitely the experience. around the ship, and especially when you do some of our longer sailings. So on some of the sailings where we have repositioning, we go to Singapore all the way up to Dubai, Dubai across to Greece, and coming back again before and after our local seasons. You'll have destination experts on board for all of these trips that will tell you about the ports of call that we're heading to, what's coming up next, kind of the best things to do in those ports. We've partnered with World Wildlife Fund, so we have the lecturers on board in certain parts of the world where we're doing something with conservation or things for the ocean, and you'll be able to meet and greet with those lecturers and hear some really interesting talks, especially around South America. We've had a few of them on board, and those sailings are so interesting to hear what it is they're doing down there. We have special interest lectures. There'll always be a couple of people. We've had professors on before, history lecturers that are able to tell you about the region that you're sailing in. And we do have art instructors or bridge lecturers on every sailing 13 nights or more. So whether it's a watercolor artist, we've sometimes even had a sculpture artist, and you worked on something right across each of the sea days. But the bridge lecture is always quite popular. That's something to do each sea day afternoon. You can do continuous games with them as well. A couple of the dining options that we have for you whilst you cruise. So we've added in a high tea in Aquilina. This is our modern Italian specialty restaurant. So Aquilina and Prime Sea, you see, that are included for all suite guests, and Veranda Plus for one night of the cruise. For suite guests, you can book in anytime you like to either of these two restaurants. And if you are booked in a Veranda or below, it's just a $30 per person cover charge, and you're able to go in for an amazing 4-course meal. Around the ship, we've got cabaret bars. We've got Mosaic Cafe, which is open every day with free snacks for you and your barista coffees. And then the cocktail bar at the top there is the pre-dinner cocktail bar. One thing that I have experienced, and it's amazing, is the chef's table. If you are real foodies like me and you love the wine and food pairing, that's a great experience to have on board. It is a 7-course experience, a sommelier host with the executive chef, lots of different cuisines from around the world. So I've tried the Asian fusion, and I've had the Italian special as well. So depending on which region that you're sailing in, the chef puts together a menu that is reflective of the destination that you're in. So there's some really great dining on board. It's not something that we talk about all the time with Azamara, but it is something that I get great feedback from our guests on. Room service. Also on the ships, you've got a full menu, and it's restaurant style. So a couple of these shots are from how you can actually order it on the TVs straight to the room, but also just that you can have anything from the restaurants, and this is open for you right around the ship. It is a fantastic full meal, so it's not just snack food, and that's all inclusive as well. Now, this one is something new that I've popped into our consumer presentations, just to let you know a few of the cocktail varieties that are on our inclusive list. So people often say, oh, it'll be inclusive cocktails, it's only just a few. It really is a whole cocktail list for you. We've got name brand beverages for you. You can actually see that right on the website. It tells you what are our basic spirits and what's included as well. So definitely some friendly, smiley cocktail waiters there at the bar, at the pool deck, able to get you that cocktail right from when you check in on day one. Now, shore excursions, I mentioned before, we do have a few different categories. So it's what level of activity you prefer and what interests you. You can actually search these before you've locked in a cruise. We can take a look, or you can sit down with the team at Victon and work through, you know what, we're going here, I'd really love to do hiking, or I'm really interested in kind of the world events, what sailings have those on? And you can search it that way with the team to find something that really that you're excited about and is happening on your particular sailing. They do fall into 3 categories. So it is the landmarks and locales, the local immersions, and the exclusive experiences. Now, some of the exclusive experiences will have a dollar point that goes to how exclusive and only available for a few people they are. Some of these are helicoptering up into the mountains, and it's a one-off night out that you might want to do just as a couple. So there's a few romantic ones in there as well, but each of them are really well described for you on the website and with each of the sailings. Some of the shore excursions that are kind of fun that we do around the world, we've got 8 different spots where you can actually do a high tea in some pretty exclusive places. That first coffee you see there is coated in 24 karat gold flakes. That is at the Emirates Palace in Abu Dhabi. The Art Tea is in the top corner, and that's up in the Merion Hotel. Very quite famous for this in Dublin. And you can also go right to a castle in Scotland and have your high tea out on the castle lawn. So some pretty cool experiences. If it's food and wine, cooking workshops right around the world. This is something that's become really fun actually for our chefs. Takeout in most of the ports. Some of our guests will go out with them to the fish markets or whatever is kind of the local specialty for that country or place that you're in, and you're able to experience kind of shopping in the markets, bartering for the food, coming back to the ship with our chefs to cook it. But we also have some great cooking classes and lessons with some local personalities as well. If it's something a little more active that you're into, there are chances to cycle around most of our main ports. Barcelona by bike is one that I have tried. I am definitely not the world's fittest person, but I was able to keep up with this one. And Barcelona being mostly flat from that harbour and around to a few of the great sites, this is something I could manage. Samba lessons if you're down in South America, or even in Argentina if you'd like to snorkel with sea lions. We've got lots of different options for you. And the walking tours, this is always really popular. We will let you know the activity level in any port you're in, but whether it's up in Norway and walking with those gorgeous huskies, whether you're walking and also going to a concert in Latvia, or doing the guided walk around Croatia, there are some beautiful old towns on our Croatian intensives, and I've had people that have done the walking and guided tour each day, pop the headphones in, head off with your guide, and really you learn so much from being with the locals while you're out there and getting all of that kind of local knowledge, where to get the best food after the walk for the lunch. It is always a lot of fun, and especially when they're hosted by the local guides, you're really getting the inside track. On the ship itself, there are a lot of great things that you can do to relax as well. Now, some of the longer itineraries do have quite a few sea days in there. So whether it's going to the salon, relaxing in the spa, or if you like to jump up and get to the gym every morning, we've got plenty of options for health and fitness. We also have on board duty-free shopping. So even though we're a little smaller than the rest of our Royal Caribbean family, we do have some great shops on board, and you can get some duty-free shopping whilst you're cruising with us. The heart and soul of Azamara has always been for a long time our crew. They look after you so well when you're on the ship. If anyone on the call today has sailed with us before, you may recognise a few of these friendly faces. We've got our captains, hotel directors, and then some of our cruise directors as well. I tend to call them, they have cruise groupies that will actually sail particularly with, say, Eric, the cruise director, or they just like to sail when Captain Magnus is on board. And really the experience of being able to actually see and interact with our officers a lot is something that stands out for our guests. The fact that they can actually get to meet, mingle, have a cup of tea in the afternoon with Richard, the hotel director. The officers really are around the ship. It's very different to large ship cruising, and they're very involved in all the activities that happen on board. The white party or evening under the stars that I showed you, we actually have the officers out there serving that night. Hotel directors are always having competition to see who does the best dessert. So our regular cruisers do go around and try them all to make sure who's the best chef out of them. A couple of country intensives that we wanted to take a look at, and some that have been really popular in the last few seasons for you. So I pulled a couple together here, and we've got a lot more that we can go through or chat to you about as well. But the Japan intensives have been so popular, and being that we're not able to go to Japan in 21, I believe these will go very quickly in 2022. There are 2 of these sailings on the Azamara journey. So the Azamara journey will come and do a local season here across the end of next year, December 21 right through till March. Then in April, we head up and do an Asian repositioning, and we then arrive in Tokyo. Now, as you can see from that map there, and I've popped in a little at a glance itinerary as well, really this is an in-depth Japan trip. You've got some great ports here. I had a couple of groups that I arranged with travel agents last year that went on board and did one of the Japan intensives. So it was the first time that we did it in 2019. and they had such an amazing time. They couldn't actually believe how much time they had in the day to go out and do the bullet train, bring it back again, go into the next port. So with these particular sailings, it will always tell you when you're docked or tended. Now, luckily around Japan, we are docked most of the time, and it lets you know where we're doing the overnights as well. So we'll be overnighting here for you in Kobe, Japan, where you can actually go out and do some really great kind of like bar hopping, but beef hopping. You can go and try Kobe beef in a few different restaurants with one of the chefs. There's some really cool experiences that you can do across these ports. Some of the smaller ports in Japan that you definitely can't go in with the large ships that tend to do Japan is kind of a crossing between one area and the next, or heading to Alaska. So because we do both sides of Japan and it's quite intense, there's a lot of time there through the day. So some of the spots where we go to, when we go to Hiroshima, we actually come in at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you arrive, would have had breakfast and can jump off the ship, and we stay right through till 10 p.m. So anywhere we know that there is a lot of great excursions, there is a lot of history that people want to go and see, or things to do in that port, we try and make sure it's quite a long day. So our guests can get out and see a couple of different things with the excursions if they like, but at least include everything for you through the day. Now, one other itinerary I wanted to show you, we actually did this back to back in 2022 and 23. This is our Western African sailing. So it's been quite a long day here in Queensland already, so I'm missing some of my words this afternoon. But the Azamara Pursuit in the 4th of March 22 will take this sailing, and then the journey again, the 4th of March of 23 will go here. So this is once we've done our country intensives in South Africa. We do a great 12-night intensive, which is not on the screen right now, but they're the ones from Cape Town. We do a bit of a round trip. And this is our sailings back towards Europe. So we only do it once a year. It's what we call a repositioning sailing. So you do have the choice year on year if you wanted to go in 22 or 23, same dates, the 4th of March. But you go up and do this amazing trip right up the side through the Ivory Coast. The overnight, when you're in Namibia, you can actually do a stay in a safari lodge for the evening. And a few of the other ports, we come in quite early around breakfast time, so you can do what they call the dawn safari. Now, I've only been selling or talking about Africa for the last couple of seasons, and one thing that I learned is the big five. So the big five animals that you're going to see in Africa like to sleep when it's hot in the middle of the day. So the fact that we arrive early and stay late, and you can do a dawn or a dusk safari drive, you're actually able to see all of the big five, hopefully, but a lot of the animals when they're up and active too. So these are really great itineraries. I know it seems like very far out to be talking about them, but these particular ones do sell out every season. And there'll be a couple of categories even coming up for that start of 22, March 22, that start to fill up already on this one, because we just do it once a year. Other repositionings that we do similarly is after our local season, when we go from Sydney up to Singapore, or when we come down at the end of 21 and we do a Singapore down to Fremantle. So we've still got some space on that one as well. So some really great repositionings where you've got kind of some easy flights to come back and forward, but you all don't have to worry about that, because you've got the great team from Bigton looking after you, and they would be able to put a great package together that would get you to and from Perth, so you can get off to do some of these amazing sailings. Now, that was all I had wrapped in my presentation today, but I did want to open it up for any questions. If there was anyone that had questions about what we've looked at this afternoon, if there was another itinerary that you've seen that you thought, you know what, that's one I'd like to ask some questions about as well. Oh, I see the Weltons are on the line. Hi guys. They came on our World Journey trip with them. So thank you for joining me this afternoon to see a couple of new things that are on board. And you would have definitely recognized some of the faces there on our crew page as well.
No, that was awesome, Belle. Thank you. I've loved some of those itineraries. As you mentioned, that Singapore to Fremantle proving very popular. Another thing to note out, as you know, I recently spoke with Captain Johannes, and he was saying that one of his favorite things about his role on board is all about making himself available to the guests. And the best part of the day for him is just standing at the bottom of the gangway and welcoming guests as they go off on their shore excursions, and just having that personal one-to-one, which, as you say, you simply cannot do on the big ships. So
yeah, you absolutely. And honestly, our guests will tell you that have been on board before, you really cannot I have never seen, and I was 12 years on royal ships, and I used to get called in by the captain to go and see them. But to see a captain, hotel director, and the team all on the gangways, seeing the guests every day, you could really get to know them. And I think that comes across because it's from the senior officers right down to everyone through the crew that just look after our guests so well when you're on board.
Yeah. Maybe one thing, if we have got a bit of time to just remind
Mm-hmm.
people, is about the, obviously being part of the Royal Caribbean family. You've just released the how you're going to keep people safe at sea, and you touched on briefly about the muster drill moving to be electronic, but there is quite a lot of information available to people if they want to know what you're going to be doing in the future to make sure everybody is safe and well once on board.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's we haven't released too much from the Azamara side. We always do take the Royal Caribbean lead on these ones. But for the Royal Caribbean brand, especially because we're actually coming out in Singapore in December, they have brought out kind of a healthy return to cruising, and have let you in on a few of the things that are waiting to be agreed on by the CDC and a few of the other health authorities around the world. But it's definitely a fantastic thing to take a look at. It's all about the filtered air. So we're going to have, we've always had the HVAC system, but it will now be 100% fresh and filtered air. Medical grade cleaning standards on board. Less guests. So we're definitely coming back at, for the Singapore sailings, it's sitting at 50% of our usual capacity on the Royal Caribbean's Quantum of the Seas. So more space for everyone to stay in their family groups whilst they're on board. A few people have asked me about the medical facilities, and we will have more people, more doctors, more nurses on board. So we will have more staff than we've ever had before in the medical facilities. And definitely like a safe and timely return home. So they're really looking at the entire sailings and deployment that they're doing, and making sure that they align with everything that the Singaporean government has put in place for those particular sailings. When it comes to other parts of the world, we're still obviously waiting for the agreements between governments and cruise lines of what will be kind of some of that return to sailing protocol that we'll have to do. One thing that I'm really proud of though is that all of the cruise lines are working together. Yeah. So definitely in this climate that we're in and the things that we've had and the challenges, they're working together to make sure there's a plan for everyone to return. And I know, Barry, we've talked about this before, that there is so many cruise lines out there, but I feel like there is a cruise line for everyone. There's guests that will enjoy different experiences on board and different ways to be. And I do think that there's enough people that love cruising out there that we really have space for all cruise lines. So we want to work together to make sure that cruise comes back strong. And I think you'll definitely see a lot more on the healthy sailing and what we will do for our guests moving forward.
Yeah, fabulous. And of course, you've also got the New Zealand deployment. You mentioned the ship will come down to Fremantle. There's a sector from Fremantle through to Sydney, which I think is the Christmas New Year cruise, which is selling exceptionally well. And then, of course, a couple of deployments down from Sydney to Auckland and back, which are also proving very popular. So if people are interested in end of 21 through to 2022, locally, that is certainly available to them. Oh, sorry.
I think we got one comment in there. That one, hold on, I'll just see it on the chat. Great to almost see you guys. It's so weird for it to be virtual because I used to love coming over and seeing you all. I know. So we have, the Weltons have just said about moving the staff around. We've got a couple of staff that have moved on, and there was Captain Philip has decided to take a role on land to be a little closer. He's got some younger children. So the same as Captain Jose that did that last year for his kids is going to stay home for a little bit. So I know we really loved we called them the triplets, Johannes, Heike and Eric were the cruise director, hotel director and captain that were always together. So it's going to be a bit of a change when we come back. And each of the ships is starting at a different time. So we're not sure how long the teams will work on different ships or work together, but we want to make sure that each of the ships has the Azamara feel. So I think that's why they're mixing it up a little when they come back. We also had, I mean, some of you may have seen this in the media, Azamara didn't have so many people that stayed on board as long, but some of our cruise members stayed on board for almost a year. There's a few countries that, some South American countries where crew members can't return home yet, and some in Asia as well. So we do have some crew members, part of our 72, that are on board manning the 3 ships in Scotland at the moment, that still can't return to their home countries just due to regulations and governments. So they've stayed on board this entire season. So once the ships can go back and people can move freely through countries, that will be a reason that we let some people go home and have some time with their families before they return to the ship.
Sure. Hopefully the weather's been kind to them in Scotland.
You know what? I've had reports back from our Scottish sales manager that lives 3 blocks from where the ships are. Can you believe? She walks down there and can go to visit them. She actually is their mailman. So she's taking all the staff's mail to them while they're in Glasgow. But she said it's been sunny and amazing all the way through. So they've definitely been very lucky with where the ships have been kind of holed up and looking after them all together.
Fabulous. Well, Belle, it's late where you are, or certainly later than where we are. So
A little, yeah.
thanks again for your time. Always a pleasure to speak with you. And of course, if anybody does have any questions about Azamara, they can give our team a call in the office, 93390211, or of course, contact us by the website or email.
Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon, everybody. I will send through the slides that I used today to Barry. So if there was any questions or anything, the team will have all that information as well.
No problem. Thanks, Belle. Always a pleasure to speak to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye
Have
now.
a great afternoon.